welcome to Saints Live. I'm Kenzie Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
Well, it's the first of a double header with Wolves as the Saints travel to Molineux to take on Wolves in the 5th round of the FA Cup. But who will come out on top? Well, here to give us their thoughts ahead of this one are our two guests, Dean Hammond and Paul Belveston. Gents, how are we? Paul, great to have you along with us again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Looking forward to this. Very good here in Chandler's Ford. Thank you. Hope you guys are all right.
We're doing really well, thank you. Dean, how's things with you?
Very well, very well. And, nothing to report really, no change. Unfortunately, no exciting stories for you, but looking forward to the game.
Oh, well, we're very excited to have you both along with us.
Yeah, definitely. We're speaking to each other too often, isn't it? Every 3 or 4 days. So what else can you say? We do have some early team news in. Kyle Walker-Peters returns from injury. Mohamed Salisu, he is on the he was on the bench at Newcastle. He's been training as well, so he's likely to feature. Diallo, Walcott, Smallbone, and Obafemi are all still out. Takumi Minamino, he's cup-tied and unavailable after scoring on his debut against Newcastle, and Ralph has suggested that he's going to have to rotate some of his players for the next 2 games. Let's see what you guys think of the lineup or the potential lineup tonight. Dean, do you expect, or what changes do you actually expect Ralph to make tonight?
Well, I think it will be interesting to see. I think with the team that the manager puts out will indicate probably what he's taking more seriously. I think that there will be some changes to the team tonight. I don't think it'll be wholesale changes. I think the core of the team will stay pretty similar, but I think a couple of players will get rested. I don't think they'll get dropped. I think there are a couple of players will be rested. I think Bednarak potentially could do with a little bit of a rest. I think McCarthy with Fraser Forster coming in, I think that could be one change. Walker-Peters coming back in, I think that gives the team a different dimension, a new dimension in terms of attacking wise, gives us an extra threat down the flank. And then the wide areas, I think Nathan Redmond may come in, Gineppo will come in, and it's whether then you change the front two and give them a little bit of a rest, give them a little bit of recovery, or you play them, you allow them to keep building on that relationship to try and gel like they have before, because I think that's so important to the team. So it'd be interesting to see what the manager does. I think, like I mentioned, there will be some changes. I think there will be some rotation because the games are so close together. But I think the spine and the core of the team will stay pretty similar.
And Paul, yourself, obviously there are still a few players missing. What are you expecting to see tonight?
Yeah, I think it will be fascinating. Like Dean said, which is more important? FA Cup, Premier League. In the league, 14 points off the bottom 3, 10 points off the top 6. There is a very strong argument for putting out the strongest team in this game and really pushing for a good cup run. Ralph has said that he will rotate. With all the injuries, I don't think he's got a huge number of options, areas where he can rotate. I think, at centre-back, resting Bednarek maybe after all those games. Yannick Vestergaard, can he play 3 times in a week after such a long time out? So perhaps the wait might well be over finally. We might get to see Mohamed Salisu after, he's had a few appearances on the bench but never got on, as he's been pretty unlucky. We know he arrived injured and then picked up another injury as he was going to make a debut against Shrewsbury in an earlier round of the Cup. So maybe today is his day that we might see him in a Saints shirt for the first time. I did wonder whether, again, if he's looking to rest some players who featured a lot. Ryan Bertrand very rarely misses a game. Maybe if Kyle Walker-Peters has come back, he could play on the left and Kane Ramsey could get another go on the right. As elsewhere, could we see a bit of redemption for Alex Jankovic maybe appearing on the bench, or is he still suspended perhaps because of the Man United game? But I don't think there'll be a great amount of rotation, but I think there will be some. But I would also like to really see Saints go for this and push for a long cup run.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, we will be bringing you the team news in just over 10 minutes' time. But until then, all we can do is speculate. Dean, you did just mention Kyle Walker-Peters there. You said he brings a different dimension in an attacking sense. But just how much will his return boost the team today?
I think it's huge. I think it really is. I think he's become such an important player for the way Southampton play, for their attacking threat. He's very, very good going forward. He's excellent with travelling with the ball. He makes up a lot of ground. The way he supports his wide players and his attacking players is fantastic. He's very, very comfortable on the ball. And he's defensively, he's become a lot better. His understanding of his duties as a right back are excellent. And I think he's been missed. He really has. And I don't think we all probably appreciate how much he would be missed. So him coming back into the team potentially tonight would be a big boost, because when he's played this season, the team's generally performed very, very well. So, he has a big influence on the way that the team plays. And I think when he's on the pitch, the midfield players like to give him the ball because they know he can take players on. They know he can get on the outside. And whoever's playing on the wide right, I think when he's played with Stuart Armstrong, their relationship has been really, really good, which means Stuart Armstrong can go more centrally and be a little bit more creative in the centre, get some shots off, maybe find them through balls for the attacking players. So, yeah, really important player, and would love to see him back tonight, running down that wing like he has all season.
Yeah, talking about attacking threats, Paul, Minamino's cup-tied and Theo Walcott's injured. What could Ralph do to shuffle the pack up front?
I think, as Dean said earlier, it's probably going to be Nathan Redmond, Moussa Djenepo. Stuart Armstrong was pictured in training yesterday, spotted that on the official site. So, maybe he'll feature. Seems a bit of a risk to start him, but, we don't know the extent of his injury and how much he has been training. But he seemed to be ruled out in Ralph's press conference on Tuesday. To see him in training yesterday, that's a boost, and perhaps we could see him certainly at some stage. But I think Redmond and Djenepo are two players who could really do with some game time. They've had frustrating seasons with niggly injuries, and I think Redmond's played 90 minutes only 3 or 4 times. Djenepo even less than that, perhaps only once. And I know Redmond had a good game against Wolves a couple of seasons ago at St Mary's. He scored twice that day in his potentially best spell for Southampton. He was flying back then. Certainly in terms of goals, it was the early days of Ralph's tenure, the second half of that season, when it was a really disappointing season. But Redmond was flying, and the more game time he gets, the more likely he is to get back to his very best level. So I'd like to see him have a run of games, fitness permitting, of course. Apart from those three, I wonder, Nathan Teller's back in the picture now. He has played out wide a few times earlier on in the season, although played as one of the front two then against City and Liverpool. So I think he's another option, but I think it's likely to be Djenepo and Redmond, perhaps with an outside chance of Armstrong, but I bet it'll be Teller and someone completely different now.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to finding out what the team will be. But for now, it's time to hear from Saints boss. I think it's fair to say we've certainly had a bit of bad luck of late, and Ralph was asked in his press conference about that recent bad luck and whether or not there's anything in it.
Luck is for me never a parameter for winning or losing, to be honest. When you concentrate on the luck or not luck you have, then you're not in really good, not a really good manager. I have a quote that fits better, I think. If you have always luck, you're good. If you have always bad luck, then you're not good. And I think this is key. Always unlucky is even not a good team. Always lucky, there is some reason why the good teams are always lucky, because they have quality and they force the luck, and this is what we have to do. And in our good shape this season, we didn't speak about luck or not luck. We had also the game against Villa away where we scored after 2 minutes, and it was a disallowed goal. Nobody knew why, and then scored 4 times again. So this is what I mean: force the luck and do everything that you bring the luck back, if you like. But this is more important, I think.
Right, so there's Saints boss Ralph Hasenhüttl. Dean, he's effectively saying that teams make their own luck. Is that something you believe in?
Yeah, I think it is, Steve. I think you do create your own luck with how hard you work, how dedicated you are to your craft as a footballer and as a coach. And I like the way the manager spoke there, putting a little bit of pressure on himself, really, just saying, look, if we don't get good results or good performances, it's not due to bad luck, it's due to how we organise the team or how we coach or manage. So I really like that approach from him. But I do believe you create your own luck. During the season, if you continually perform well, if you continually keep to a routine of training hard, of preparing right, on and off the pitch, you will get some lucky breaks. Things will go for you because one, you'll be better prepared physically and mentally. So when other players or other teams are fatigued or they're not quite as organised, you'll get opportunities because you are. And I think that's where the luck comes in. Obviously, there's incidents that you really can't control. You can't control the referee's decision. You can try and influence it, of course, but you can't control it. But I'm a big believer. The harder you work, the more lucky you get. And this Saints team has been fantastic this season, really has, to a point. You know, it's been a bit of a sticky patch at the moment, but these things are going to happen. But I doubt they've changed the way they've trained. I doubt they've changed the way they've prepared. So it will turn around, and hopefully that can start today, and you know they can continue the cup run.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Belvers, if Jan Bednarek plays today, it will actually be his 100th appearance for the Saints. Now, it has been a bit of a tough week for him with a couple of own goals and the overturned red card. But how do you reflect on his time overall at Southampton?
I think he's grown into a terrific defender. It's very easy to forget that he's only 24. He arrived as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, something like that. And at that time, he struggled to get in the team. I think he only made a handful, 5 or 6 appearances in his certainly in the Premier League in the first season, because he had the likes of Maya Yoshida, Jack Stevens was playing well, Wesley Hoot was playing regularly as well, and of course Virgil van Dijk was coming to the end of his time at St Mary's. He actually made his debut against Wolves in the FA Cup. It was a 2-0 defeat, so let's hope that's not an omen. But he had to wait a long time, pretty much a year, to have a consistent run of games. And what really changed it for him was the arrival of Ralph Hasenhüttl, because he, from the very first day, pretty much said, "You're my man in the middle of defence." He's rarely missed a game since. He came straight in for that first game against Cardiff, and has just sort of grown and developed and evolved ever since that day. I think I've mentioned before about his bad luck when it comes to scoring, because he always seems to score when Saints go 2-0 up and games that they then go on to lose 3-2. And quite what he's done to deserve what's happened to him in the last week, I don't know. He must have run over a black cat while driving under a ladder or something like that, because you really felt for him, didn't you? The United game, and then that gets overturned after he's already had the own goal, of course, and then to have it happen again, own goal wise, against Newcastle, it was such unfortunate luck. But I think I'm not convinced that'll bother him. I think he's a tremendous player, tremendous character, and he's been excellent and will continue to be excellent for Saints.
Yeah, well, speaking of defenders, it's a part of the team that's come under a bit of scrutiny recently. In the last 4 games, they've conceded 16 goals, albeit 9 against just the one team. In the previous 16 games, previous 18 games, they'd only conceded 16 goals. So, Dean, is that down to having maybe an unsettled back four, or is there a bit more to it than that?
No, I agree with what you're saying, Steve. I think with the United result, it's a little bit misleading because there's 9 goals within one game. But I think the defence being unsettled, I think the team being unsettled and not having that consistency within the selection. If you look at the previous games and when Southampton have performed best this season, defensively and attacking-wise, it's because they've had a consistent team. I think the back four has chopped and changed. Individuals have been out, so it's been difficult to form and bond as a group. The central midfield players, I mentioned it last week on the show, not having that protection in front of the back four can make a real difference. The wingers changing all the time has not helped. And then there's just been individual errors, I think. If you look at the games, Southampton have not conceded a lot of chances, really. The goals has not been peppered. The keeper's not making huge amount of saves that's keeping them in the game. It's just unforced errors, individual errors that is probably a lack of concentration or a lack of down to physical or mental fatigue because of the amount of games lately. You're playing all the time. You're competitive. You're in cup competitions. You're playing in the Premier League, which is the best league in the world. So mistakes are going to happen. And I think it's just come at a stage where it's happened in one go. It's not been spread out over a long period of time. So I think it's just been a combination of things. But I think that repetitive amount of games has mentally just increased the chances of making mistakes. And I think that's what's happened.
Well, the team news is now announced. You can see it on your screens there, and there's relief for our defensive ranks as Kyle Walker-Peters is welcomed back into the starting 11 and Mohamed Salisu starts. So let's run through that Saints team in full then. In goal, Fraser Forster steps in to replace Alex McCarthy. Kyle Walker-Peters starts for the first time since our 4th round tie against Arsenal. Making up the pairing in the middle of defence is Jan Bednarek and Mohamed Salisu, with Ryan Bertrand completing the back 4. In the middle of the park, our captain, James Ward-Prowse, who scored yet another spectacular free kick at the weekend. He lines up alongside Oriol Romeu. Out wide is Musa Djenepo and Stuart Armstrong, and the Southampton forwards Danny Ings and Nathan Redmond leading the line. Then the Southampton substitutes are as follows: Harry Lewis, Yannick Vestergaard, Jack Stevens, Kegs Chauke, Ryan Finnegan, Caleb Watts, Nathan Teller, Shay Adams and Dan Nlundulu. So there we go, the wait is over, the team news is upon us. Let's come to you first, Belvers. A start for Mohamed Salisu. How excited are you to see him in action?
I think that's good news. This is the perfect game to give him a chance, and I'm pleased to see him alongside Bednarek as well, because he has been, despite the luck he's had in the last 2 games, I think he's been remarkably consistent. He's grown into a real leader. So to have a young man making his debut alongside, you want Jan Bednarek alongside him, basically, to help him through the game. And I think this side sends a message by Ralph that he is taking this competition pretty much as seriously as he could. He sees it as a great opportunity to win some silverware, certainly to go a long way, because yes, he's given Shay Adams a rest and Yannick Vestergaard, for example, but otherwise it's pretty much his strongest side. It is certainly very, very strong, which is what we were hoping for, because we want them to really attack this competition and really go at Wolves, and I think they're going to do that.
Certainly do. Now, Dean, as Belvers just said there, Shay Adams being rested for this one. What do you make of that attacking partnership, Danny Ings and Nathan Redmond?
Well, it's different, obviously, because with Shay Adams, there's no physical presence now, really. It's more, you'd like to see Nathan Redmond get on the ball. You'd also like to see him running behind as well, because he is quick, and he can cover the ground very, very quick. I'm sure they can form a partnership. Very, very clever players. And Danny Ings, he's been a little bit hit and miss lately for his standards. So I'm sure he'll be happy to be playing again. And like you say, Stuart Armstrong playing, I really like Stuart. He can come in centrally and he can make more numbers up in the centre of the pitch, and he can create more opportunities from the central area for Danny Ings to be able to find them cute passes that are really, really important. And then Walker-Peters flying down the outside is a real attacking threat. So like Paul mentioned, it's a really attacking team. It's a really strong team. I like the intention from the manager. I like his selection, and it's an exciting team. So, he's shown his intent to continue to progress in this competition. So that excites me.
Yeah, well, Fraser Forster starts back in goal tonight as well. He's played in the last 2 FA Cup fixtures. Some fans are calling for him to have an extended run in the team. Paul, where do you stand on Southampton's goalkeeping situation?
Fraser couldn't have done much more, could he? 3 games, 3 wins, 3 clean sheets, all at home so far, if that means anything in this strange no supporter in stadiums world. But I think we can go back to what you and Dean were saying earlier about the last 4 games as well. Those 16 goals conceded in 4, and the few chances that the opposition have scored from, because United's 9 came from just 14 shots on target. I think it was 3 goals from 4 shots on target from Newcastle, 3 and from 5 for Arsenal. So that is one sort of area of concern, that so many shots, there aren't many shots, but so many of them are then hitting the back of the net. And there have often been question marks that are coming up again now over Alex McCarthy's kicking, his distribution, particularly obviously after the goal just before half time against Newcastle. There have been a couple of other moments recently as well. So you can understand why fans are calling for a change, but it also does just sort of disregard all of the very good work that McCarthy has given since the start of the season and long before that as well. And it can't be easy in front of a patched up defence, a defence that's featuring different bodies every single week. And I'm not completely convinced that Forster himself has been brilliant with his kicking and distribution, and been tested hugely in those 3 previous games. So they are both unquestionably very, very good goalkeepers. I've got a lot of time for them both. But like anyone in that position, you can be affected by a drop in confidence. And when things are going through a sticky patch in front of you, then that is also going to affect your own game, I think. So I think tonight it's a big chance for Fraser, because, you know, what more can he do than another win, another clean sheet? That would certainly give the manager something to think about. But I also don't think Ralph is the kind of guy who just drops someone at the first sign of trouble. And while, you know, these murmurs are growing from outside that perhaps a change of goalkeeper might be worth doing, I think he might stick with Alex McCarthy for a little bit longer.
Right, well, it's time now to take a look at socials, see what you guys watching along at home have to say about tonight's game and that team selection as well. So if you haven't already done so, do make sure you're sending us in your comments here on Saints Live. We've got one from here. Sarah says, come on you Reds, I'm watching from Netherlands. Come on boys, you can do it. Thanks for that one, Sarah. We've got another one here on Facebook. Arfran, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, come on Saints, fan watching along from Malaysia. So great to have your support. Another one here, we're watching from Laos. Peter is joining us from Johannesburg. And we've got another person watching on YouTube, Dutch Destroyer, that's some name, isn't it? Watching along from the Netherlands. So thank you so much for your support all around the globe. It's fantastic to have your support here with us on Saints Live. Do let us know what you make of that starting 11, because kickoff is just around the corner.
Yes, it definitely is. But we're going to turn our attention to a different cup competition now, as 11 years ago this week, Southampton reached the Johnstone's Paint Trophy final with a 3-1 win over MK Dons.
Tonight, Alan Pardew's new Saints Revolution have put themselves in a great position to be gracing the arch come March the 28th. Since that first leg, and MK Dons came into that off the back of a 5-0 away win, but just didn't turn up on the night. Saints coming forward now, away go in the penalty area, low it comes, and Southampton have the lead! Ricky Lambert, the top scorer, pops up, and Saints take a giant step towards the arch. They lead 2-0 on aggregate, 1-0 on the night. Davis clears down the inside right channel, Antonio to pick it up, Antonio through, good defending, oh, a disastrous own goal! And how ironic for MK Dons that surely one of their own men has sent Saints to Wembley. Dan Woodard knew absolutely nothing about it. It hit him in the face and bounced into the empty net. MK Dons coming forward, left corner of the area. Nice step over now on this near side. Cross comes across, Davis punches it away. Volley goalwards by Levin, miscues. 3 Saints players go for the same ball. Wilbraham's in there, stabbed goalwards and in. And MK Dons are back in this tie. Stabbed in from close range by Mark Randall. Lambert from the left flank goes in towards the near post. Off the post, chance for Lallana! Southampton are going to Wembley! Adam Lallana seals it! He collapses to the floor and is mobbed by his teammates over by the corner flag. At the back, the noise will tell you when the whistle goes, that's for sure. Anytime now, right about now. This club was on its knees 12 months ago. Now, Southampton are going to Wembley.
There we go, highlights from that 3-1 win. But Saints won the first leg 1-0 at Stadium MK with Michael Antonio getting the goal. Dean, you didn't play in that one, but how good was it having a 1-0 lead going into the second game at home?
Yeah, it's huge, Steve, because, you know, we were very, very good at home that season. The home advantage in the second leg was important, and obviously taking a lead into that game was going to help. And both legs were tight, actually. You know, MK Dons were a good team at that level that season, very, very competitive. And we had a weakened team with injuries. The players that we'd signed in January that were playing in the league team obviously couldn't play in the cup competition, so there was a few changes. So to go to MK Dons and win 1-0 and Michael Antonio score a goal like he did, and seeing the fans celebrate behind the goal, you know, the numbers they had, it's a great stadium there. I remember the time I was injured and I watched it at home. I actually had a calf injury and jumped up as he scored, which is not the best idea when you've got a calf injury. But no, brilliant, but to be able to take a lead into the second leg gave us great confidence. We knew that whoever we played at home that season, with a 1-0 advantage, with the home fans, with the atmosphere that was going to be created, we knew we had a real opportunity to get to Wembley. So yeah, a big result.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've said, Mikel Antonio getting that goal in the first leg, Belvers. What do you remember of his time at Southampton, and also how he's gone on to become an established Premier League player?
I remember that celebration. That struck me as a very young man, showing a lot of confidence. Of course, he scored a tremendous goal and, was feeling on top of the world. But, the celebrations have stuck with him, haven't they? He's one for busting out a dance move. I remember him doing the Worm, the Macarena, the Carlton from Fresh Prince, and Homer Simpson at West Ham as well, and even Ali G. So yeah, he's never been a shy and retiring type. But because I was working for Meridian back then, I remember when he signed for Reading from Tooting, I think it was, and there was very little fanfare then because, of course, coming from non-league as a teenager, they weren't really expecting him to tear up trees in the first team for a while, and equally when he arrived at Saints initially on 1 month's loan, Alan Pardew completely played it down, said, look, we're just going to have a look at him, not sure he's going to feature much at all, don't expect much, this isn't a big signing, but he did enough to extend that loan deal to the end of the season, and yeah, showed some great talent down the wing as he was then, rather than the main striker as he is now at West Ham. And he didn't score too many. He scored a couple that season and went back to Reading. And I do remember though that he disappeared from my radar pretty quickly. I remember I joined the Premier League in 2010, and when he scored pretty soon into his West Ham career, 2015, against Southampton, I remember vividly sort of sitting up thinking, hang on a minute, didn't he used to play for Saints? And looked into what he'd done since then. But he's an incredible player now. He's so important to West Ham, and Saints could perhaps take a lot of credit for that, because they really did give him his first big chance, because Reading had sent him out on loan, and Alan Pardew clearly liked what he saw. And there was talk about them wanting to keep him at the end of that season, but he went back to Reading and went elsewhere on a couple of loan spells, I think, first.
Yeah, the rest is history. Dean, do you ever regret not busting out a worm as part of your goal celebration repertoire?
What do you reckon, Steve? Do you reckon I regret? I think I would have regretted it if I did
it. Moving on to the 3-1 win at St Mary's. What do you remember of that night, Dean? It looked fantastic.
Obviously, a great night. The first thing I remember is walking out to the atmosphere. It was a full house. Brilliant atmosphere at the beginning of the game. Excitement around the game. Obviously, we were one game away from Wembley. Scoring early, Ricky Lambert scoring, and then I think it was a fantastic own goal, which I don't think you see many of them again, where it was a clearance from one defender, hit another defender in the face and went in to make it 2-0, which was 3-0 in aggregate, which I think I celebrated with a smile on my face, which was always good. But a tight game again. It wasn't the best game in the world. It wasn't the most fluent game in the world. There's a lot of tackles, a lot of second balls, a typical, I suppose, semi-final, really, that was very, very tight and a little bit nervous. And then MK Dons getting a goal back and thinking, okay, if they score another one, this could be a little bit tight. But then Adam Lallana scoring the goal to make it 3-1, 4-1 on aggregate, which, completed the task, really. I'm not sure about his celebration, if you remember that. I think he just bought a dog at the time, and I think it was to do with that, if I can remember. But no, it was a great night, and the scenes afterwards were fantastic from the fans, and the scenes in the dressing room were good. So brilliant memories, and then that led on to a fantastic day out at Wembley.
Yeah, it certainly does. That will live long in the memory for sure. Now, Bell, was after nearly seeing the club go out of business just 9 months before, just how big a boost was the prospect of a Wembley Cup final, not just for the fans, but the entire city as well?
Oh, it was so good. It had been, 5 years of pain with relegation, playoff heartache, another relegation, all those boardroom battles, and very near oblivion as well, which was unthinkable, but seemed so very close. And I remember being at the Ajax game, the first game that Marcus Liebherr was at, and the reception he got for saving the club. And I actually nipped out a few minutes before the end with my cameraman to see if we could grab some shots of him leaving the stadium. And the enormous grin he had on his face, having really enjoyed his first 90 minutes of Southampton football. He was wearing that famous scarf around his neck that the fan had given him in the director's box, and that sort of set the season off, really. Although, as I remember, because of course starting on minus 10 points, and it took about 10, 11 games to actually get back to zero. It was quite a slow start, but then, wow, did they kick into gear. So the whole season from that moment, from about October time, such relief in the city, such relief that they deserved as well after the pain that they'd been through. And then in March, to be able to go to Wembley, and not just go to Wembley, but to take over Wembley, because there were 70-odd thousand fans in the stadium that day, but 45,000 of them were Saints fans. And I remember it set a record, or certainly equaled a record, for the biggest support by one club at the new Wembley Stadium. And 4-1 didn't do the game justice. I mean, the player of the man of the match was their goalkeeper. He kept them in it for so long. But it was such a wonderful day. So the build up to it was tremendous. The game itself couldn't have gone much better. And then afterwards, the great winning streak as well. And to only just narrowly miss out on a playoff spot after the way the season had started, on minus 10 points as well, it was just incredible. And then, of course, we know what came afterwards. But that season, Southampton was smiling again, which, football-wise, it hadn't done for a long time. So, yeah, it was wonderful to see.
Yeah, it certainly was. Very special memories indeed. Now, before we talk about tonight's game, we are going to have a little recap. Take a look back at the win that got Southampton to this stage in the competition.
The holders Arsenal are in town. Southampton trying to knock them out and put themselves into a fifth-round tie against Wolves in a couple of weeks' time. So they'll try again. What are they going to work here? 3 players, actually, Stevens, Bednarik and Adams, on the edge of the box. Now they all roam as it swung in and hits the crossbar. Ward-Prowse drilled that one, and Adams can barge in towards the St Arsenal penalty area. He's gone around Gabriel, shoots low, Leno parries it across the 6-yard area, and it'll be a goal kick to Arsenal as the clearance booms off Armstrong. Ward-Prowse will collect, brings Walker-Peters into the game, right-hand side in the penalty area, low ball across the near post, and Adams gets a touch, and Southampton have the lead. Walker-Peters may be celebrating himself if it got a defensive deflection. It's gone over the back of Gabriel, and that Ings is through in the penalty area, just pushed slightly wide right, and he's hit it against the post and back against the keeper. Now Bellerin flicks it into the penalty area. Holdings making a nuisance of himself and fires it over the crossbar. Not sure if the referee had given a free kick anyway. Good ball into feet now. Lacazette with his back to goal again, tries to turn it back into part of Pepe. Flag stays down. Pepe, and the Forster comes out, and then the follow-up shot by Nketiah. The flag eventually goes up anyway. Here comes Partey, chipping it forward down the right. Willian infield towards Nketiah, and he fires it over the bar, and probably wide as well. It was a half chance, really. Southampton have knocked the holders, Arsenal, out of the FA Cup.
Well, it's been 2.5 weeks since that 1-0 win over Arsenal in the 4th round, which seems like a lifetime ago, given everything that's actually happened. But Dean, how impressive was that win that day?
It does seem a long time ago. You're right. No, really, really impressive to beat the holders for a start. To beat a team like Arsenal is massive. Even though they made some changes that day, the manager made a statement and used his intent, with the strength of the team he put out. I think it was the last time really since we've had the most consistent team that's been playing most of the season. So again, just a really good performance from the players. Created opportunities. I think Shea Adams and Danny Ings looked very, very bright, which was great to see. Diallo and James Ward-Prowse in the centre midfield really controlled the game and, looked really composed on the ball, very, very creative and made the team tick. Defensively looked pretty assured, until probably the last 10, 15 minutes when Arsenal had a spell, which we expect, looked really, really solid. So a good performance from the team and seems a long time ago. And since then, with the injuries, with the suspensions, with a couple of poor results, things have kind of changed around. But, one result like that against Arsenal and a result like that tonight can completely change the season again. So it was great to see. And it was good to see how important the manager was taking the FA Cup, and he's shown his intent again tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, Belvers, Dean just said there that Shay Adams and Danny Ings looked bright there, but it's no secret that they have struggled for goals of late. Now, obviously, Danny has had a period out injured, but just the one goal between them since the middle of December, just how badly do they need to get a goal, and not just for themselves, but for the team as well?
Yeah, no, they do. They do. And I think it doesn't matter, what kind of personality you are. Any striker who's going through a bit of a goal drought, it does bother them. Now, of course, there are different sort of ranges of how much it bothers them, and it wasn't just the Arsenal game. They have still looked very good together to me, and you think that the United horror show, Shay Adams he scored a perfectly good goal in that game. In my opinion, I still don't really understand why that was ruled out, and there were other chances in there. Neither of them are playing like players who are very low on confidence, who are scared to take a shot or don't want to make a run. They're still looking very busy up front. They're linking up well. I don't think Shay in any respect will feel that he's been dropped tonight, like Dean mentioned earlier on, that he's just been rested, because he must pick up all sorts of knocks and niggles with the way he throws himself around to torment defenders, the physical element to his game. So I think Nathan Redmond could definitely do with a goal. I'd love to see him score to get a big boost in confidence. There've been a couple of occasions recently where he's definitely snatched at a shot or missed kicked or things haven't quite gone his way. And again, that's completely understandable after I think he's picked up 3 injuries in just a couple of months. So this season has been so frustrating and stop-start for him. I don't have any doubts that if the ball drops to Danny in a favourable area, he's much more likely to hit the back of the net than not. He's and fingers crossed that could be the start of something. That the big issue is the lack of big chances that the team are creating. It's completely understandable because of all the injury problems and everything. I'd also like to see Moussa Djenepo chip in with a few more goals. Stuart Armstrong, who scored in the defeat against Arsenal, of course. But, it's not just the 2 men up front who need to start scoring goals. The most regular one at the moment is Prowsey and his free kicks and so on. So, all round they could do with a bit of a lift in terms of scoring goals. But I also think that there'll perhaps be a bit more of a focus on keeping things tight at the back to build from there. And fingers crossed the injury problems are easing, so we'll get back to seeing a settled team and more confidence and the sort of different ways of attacking teams that we saw in the first half of the season, or certainly the first third.
Yeah, well, maybe both teams have struggled with goals recently because they've both only won once in the league in 2021. So pretty poor league form as it is. But Dean, does that really matter when it comes to cup competitions?
I think form is form. I don't think it matters as much. I think the cup games you can isolate and take them as individual games and almost as a bit of a distraction to try and build some momentum for the rest of your season, to try and improve your league form. So it can help. It definitely can. We just touched on the Paints Trophy and winning that competition. And when we were playing, Alan Pardew made it very, very clear that winning games in that competition could really help with our league form. And there was evidence of that. So I think it can come as a welcome distraction, if I'm honest. As a player, you can think it's a one-off game. Can we win this game today? There's no reflection on where we are in the league, where we're going to be in the league after this performance. It's can we win a one-off game in a cup competition to try and get in the quarter-final. So I think both teams obviously have not scored of late. I watched Wolves against Leicester at the weekend, and they look an okay team, if I'm honest. They've got some dangerous players. They've got some creative players, but they haven't got a goal scorer in them. So there's an opportunity here for Southampton tonight. But yeah, I think both teams will be looking forward to this, and they can just switch off from their league form.
Yeah, most definitely. It's set to be a good one. And lots of you are excited at home, that's for sure. And lots of you really looking forward to seeing Salisu play this evening. We have a comment here from South Coast Angler 123 on YouTube. Love a wacky YouTube name. Can't wait to see him play tonight. Kelly on YouTube says, trust me when I say Salisu is a really good no-nonsense centre-back. His tackling and interceptions are excellent. Thanks for that, Kelly. Jordan said, incredibly happy Ralph is taking this competition seriously. I have every faith in the team to get the win tonight up the Saints. Peter, hello to you. He says Armstrong is key for us, but really hope he's not coming back too early. Danny on YouTube says, come on Southampton, so happy to see a fresh team. I've got a lot of faith in Forster. He's going for a big 3-2 win for the Saints tonight. And another comment here on YouTube, Carl Walker-Peters' Bednarek Romeo triangle was so good earlier on in the season. Really excited to have it back. So nothing but positivity really on the tweets and on YouTube.
Yeah, Kelly must clearly be a Valladolid fan because I've got no idea what Salisu is actually like, so I'm keen to see him tonight.
We're very excited to see what he can do.
Paul, on Wolves, they are not having the best of seasons, are they? They're sitting 14th in the league, which isn't great by their own high standards.
Oh, particularly after what they did last season, finishing 7th, qualifying for Europe. You know, to be down in 14th with 27 points from 23 games, and that comes after a win and a draw in their last 2 as well. So it has been a big drop. I think, like Saints, we're seeing issues with injuries and far more injuries than last season at Wolves. They had a very settled team 12 months ago. They've also switched formation a bit this season, and so they're sort of transitioning into getting comfortable with that. The injuries have robbed them of a left-sided player a lot, and you know, we mentioned the goals there with Dean, and the loss of Raul Jimenez is just enormous. That horrendous injury he suffered in the game against Arsenal back in November. Despite that, he's still the club's leading goal scorer in the Premier League this season with 4, but he scored 27 times in all competitions last season, so that is an enormous loss to them. And the nature of the injury as well must surely have rocked his teammates and had an impact on them. It was remarkable how well they coped in that game against Arsenal as it continued after he'd been carried off. But you know, to lose such a good team man and a friend like that, that's going to have an impact. But you know, despite all of this, they have beaten Arsenal twice. They've beaten Chelsea. They've drawn against Spurs when Spurs were flying at that time as well. So they are still very well organised, very dangerous. They've got some excellent players in there, but yeah, they have their own issues in there as well, especially in terms of injuries and things like that. But yeah, I can definitely see Saints coming back with a ticket for the quarterfinals in their back pockets.
Certainly be nice, wouldn't it? And on that, Dean, what is more important for you? Where is your focus? Because a cup run would be wonderful, but with the recent dip in form in the league, is that kind of more important to you? Out of the 2 games, where are you kind of looking as the most important?
It's a great question. I think they're both important. They really are, just because of the form in the league. But I would say the FA Cup, I would, because where Southampton are in the league, they're not at the present time. There's no real relegation threat, if I'm honest. You know, I think I said at the beginning of the season, a top 10 finish and a really successful cup run would be a really successful season. And Southampton are still on for that. You know, it's still very tight, the league. If you can put a back-to-back wins in the league together, it changes the picture completely. So my focus as a player would be on every game, but I think you would have a special incentive for this cup, you know, for the FA Cup, because it's, you know, win tonight, you're into the quarterfinals, then it really gets exciting. You know, could you get a lucky draw, a home draw, and then before you know it, you're in the semi-final, and then you're doing okay in the league again, and the season suddenly becomes, oh, this is really successful again. So I think it's always the next game in front of you that's the most important, and that's the cup game. And I think the manager has looked at that as well, where he's gone, okay, I need to want to put a really strong team out there here tonight and win the game. So very, very close, hard question to answer, but I'd say the FA Cup. If we're at its present time, I'd say the FA Cup.
Yeah, and on that, and Paul, you said a minute ago that a ticket to the quarterfinals is at stake here. Well, if Saints do win tonight, how big an opportunity just is that for the club?
Oh, fantastic, because then, not wanting to get too far ahead of myself, but it's one game from Wembley, isn't it? And I think since that Paints Trophy final, Saints have deserved a bit of luck at Wembley, really. The League Cup final there 3 or 4 years back played United off the park and didn't deserve to lose that day. Lost against Chelsea in FA Cup semi-final the following season, and the 2 games against Spurs as well. They definitely didn't go Southampton's way, including the first one where Ralph had just been appointed as manager. But you look at the teams left in the competition. Chelsea may well get through tonight. You've still got City, United, Everton, Leicester, but get a home draw, a local derby-ish against Bournemouth or Sheffield United, who've already been spanked at St Mary's. And then this is what I'm calling it. I've got my crystal ball out, and I was looking back to 1989, 1990, the year I was born, obviously. Crystal Palace were beaten 9-0 by Liverpool and then beat them 2-1 in the FA Cup semi-finals. I think Man United FA Cup semi-final against Saints turn them over, get to the final. How's about that?
That sounds pretty good to us.
Yeah, that's a good prediction.
Well, that kind of answers the question I'm about to ask you both, but I am going to ask you for a little prediction. You are obviously feeling confident, Belvers. How do you see this one going? What's your score prediction tonight?
I think Wolves are struggling, as we've said. They don't score a huge number of goals and they look to keep things tight as well. And I think this could be the start of Southampton's defensive solidity as well. A sparkling debut for Salisu. And maybe he'll even pop up at the other end with a header from a James Ward-Prowse corner. So let's go 1-0. Salisu making all the headlines.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that is a fantastic prediction. Dean, hard to follow up on that one, but what are your thoughts ahead of this game?
Well, I think Belvers has seen my crystal ball. The same thing, if I'm honest. I was going to say 1-0. I think it'd be a tight game. Wolves are very, very capable. They're a good team, but they're not scoring a lot of goals at the moment. Southampton are obviously, I think you'll see a reaction tonight. We were expecting a reaction in the Newcastle game. We didn't quite get that. So I think you'll get that tonight with some players coming into the team eager to impress. So if I can't go 1-0, I'll go 2-0 to Southampton.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much, Paul and Dean, for joining us tonight. So Saints put the Premier League to the back of their minds as focus switches to progressing to the FA Cup quarter-finals. Do join us again right here for the final whistle, as we'll have all the post-match reaction and analysis with both Dean and Paul. So do enjoy the game, and we'll see you soon.